La 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 la. Okay. Had to. Couldn't help it. Slava Ukrainian, welcome to Brewing Controversy. What's up, David?
How you doing?
It is Tuesday. It is a semi-special edition, mostly just the regular edition, except we have different things to drink at different points in time, and we decided to turn our beer green because it's St. Paddy's week, which for the party crowd means going and doing all sorts of dumb shit with bad beer. We don't really drink green beer, David, because you and I typically don't drink the sorts.
I'll be honest. I've never had it.
Turn green.
I have never had green beer in my entire life.
I mean, I don't drink a beer shitty enough to be one of the ones that they pour the dye in. That's the bottom line. Like, it's not something that's on my menu.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think mostly in Nashville, it's normally Hap and Harry, and you're just like, and nothing of value is lost.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine, but that's not the summary that you want of your beers. It's fine.
It does nothing for anyone ever.
Just fine. Anyway, I'm Lucas. This is David. Welcome to Brewing Controversy. If you're here, say hello. And if you're drinking, raise them high. We're going to start the show with a little bit of beer.
Yep.
Sort of. I don't know if mine can be qualified as beer, but I'm gonna defer to you to go first.
No,
We're kicking off the show with our St. Paddy's themed drinking. We've got our green shirts. Yep. Believe it or not, David's shirt is a green, but he's still sticking with his blue and yellow.
Yeah,
Ukrainian solidarity.
I have green under my blue and yellow for Ukraine right now.
Yeah, you're a fashion plate tonight.
I am.
So we are serving double duty on our St. Paddy's episode, and we're going to start with a little bit of beer talk first. So you go first. What you starting with?
So I'm starting with Oddside Paddy's Red. And I can't say that I've ever actually had this. I might have, but
I used to love red. Reds were my favorite.
I mean, it's a really solid. It's just a really solid red. I mean, it's a red ale. It's got a nice dry finish. It's got a malty front. It doesn't have any sweetness to it, which is what I prefer in a red. Because sometimes you get people who make those reds who like they try and load up the front end with because they're like, oh well, we're making it dark, because it's technically red ale is not an ale. It's not made with ale yeast. It's made with lager yeast. So they try and load up the front end with maple syrup and stuff because they think it's an ale, and it's not. So I appreciate the fact that these guys, I rarely dislike anything from Oddside when I can find it. So
does it have a nice color? What's the? Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, that's pretty. Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
Rob's here. Hey Rob, how's it going, man? Welcome to the show. So I'm next. I am not drinking anything that could traditionally be described as beer. So I'm in the Fusey. I hope I'm saying it right. So over the weekend, I had a very modest little birthday hangout over at New Holland Knickerbocker, and the manager there, who we've had some contact with for the last year and a half or so, is a really good guy. He hooked up my little crew with a round of this for a little birthday toast, and it's right on time for St. Paddy's. This is what the thing looks like. This is this is from our rack of toasts that we were given, and it is very much green. And I don't hate that like I hate the dyed beer, but this is the most St. Paddy's looking thing. Now, I had a better experience than when you and I tried the Lucky Charms. And
my God,
I searched high and low today trying to find the clip of when we tried that Lucky Charms sour.
The only time we've just generally tried a beer and had to pan it, and we're like, no, I can't do this. This is so bad.
It was the only time when we both live on the stream were like, oh God. And I couldn't find it.
Mistakes were made.
I couldn't find the clip. I actually don't think we did it when we were doing Brewing Controversy as a show.
No.
Because the first show for Brewing Controversy, our 1-year anniversary is actually next week. So that would have been well after. And so somewhere in there, we were doing one of the streams. I even looked at my personal page to see if I could find anything, and I couldn't find it there. I do wonder if it was in my old page that got killed off, and I can't remember when that happened. So I can't remember when the line was drawn.
Olivia remembers.
Oh, she's here. Olivia's here. She's actually going to be joining us on screen here in a bit. But yes, we were both mortified at our own repulsion.
Well, especially since I drove, like, it was this whole thing about me trying to get to tailgate on time so that I could get the beer from tailgate,
right,
and then drive as quick as I could over to your house to the basement studio.
Yep. All right, so this Fusey is hard seltzer smoothie. Okay,
it's bubbly frappuccino, boys and girls. If you read the ingredients,
but so mint, vanilla, and milk sugar. Like, I shouldn't like this, and I don't hate it. I don't like want to seek it out. I bought one. Like, I got a mix and match 4-pack, and I put one of these in it, and one Bananas Foster because that's good shit, and then 2 more Hoptronics or something. But anyway, so apparently this Fusey series, is it a cocktail? Is it a seltzer? Is it a smoothie? No, it's a Fusey. The latest innovation coming out of our pub brew house, and a fusion of all 3 of those things. The first one they did was a painkiller, and then they did coconut margarita. And I don't know if they've had a number 3. I don't think they've had a number 3. Those are number 1 and 2. They tend to do numbers, but this one apparently has no number. It's just an addition for St. Paddy's. I don't hate it. It does taste like something that a kid would drink. Like, it really, like, this is the stuff that you, just like having like poisons and cleansers not look like candy. This is the stuff you don't give the kid. And yeah, Olivia points out it's like a Shamrock Shake. Okay, that's fair. Yep. I can accept that description.
It's a bubbly frappuccino.
I can accept that description. That works. Anyway, so I'm going to be on another stream on the Back of the Cereal Box show on Thursday night. I don't have any plans for St. Paddy's, but I might mix something up in there. I don't know. It was so chill on Sunday to just hang out kind of in a room that we had set aside. That place will be bananas on Thursday night. It'll be just wall to wall dopes that don't know how to drink. Actually, I mean, it might not all be that. And
no,
granted, of course, I'm going to love the scenery in a place like that because it'll be wall to wall, like college hotties from Grand Valley University or something. But
I mean, I'm going to be writing crowd control on all those idiots. So.
Yeah, you have to work in that environment, and I don't envy that at all, sir. So, what do you guys like? Not that you want to go too far into work, but what do you have to put up with? Like, are there any crazy events, or is it just come drink?
Oh no, like we have a sale, but I mean, like, we have like an entire like corralling system that we have to impose.
Okay, all
so
right.
that we can move people around the restaurant effectively. Because otherwise there's just too many people. And
so you really have that many Sylvan Park moms that go out and get trashed on St.
I mean, it's not that it's not the Sylvan Park moms. It's what happens is we're the first bar, right?
Oh,
on your way. So for those of you who don't know how Charlotte Pike works through Nashville, Charlotte Pike is basically the main thoroughfare, and if you keep following, it goes straight through the middle of downtown. It meets up with West End, does all this stuff. But after you get past, the general downtown area, including Midtown, going down Charlotte, we are the first. I mean, there's other places before there. There's like Otto's. There's Smoking Thighs. There's
kind of newish.
Yeah, I mean, well, none of those are bars, but like they're all like either there's like the Chimichurri, all these places that are either cocktail lounges or like little tiny like to go kind of restaurant places. We are like ML is the first kind of sizable bar where you could sit down and
that's a good point.
with a bunch of people on your way coming from downtown. So once downtown fills up, you get all these people who are like, well, where else can we go where we can get in within 2 hours?
Wouldn't their location down in Capitol View be hit pretty hard?
Not that many people know that it's there, number one. And number two, they don't have anywhere near as much bar space.
Well, good point. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You do have a big lead on that. Well, anyway, we're here and we're having a good time. Hope you're at home drinking something, smoking something, having a good time. I can't help but notice, David, that we have, speaking of time, a little bit more sunlight in our lives. You've got a window glowing over there in the corner, and I have a wash of daylight. I was showing off my fancy pants remote control to David earlier. If I take the light all the way out, it's still pretty bright. Like the sunlight is still, So
this, by the way, is my least favorite time of year because not only does it mean more sunlight, now I have to deal with. It's just, now where I live, the dying time begins. No, they actually did a study. Now, and apparently, like, it was believed what's called the wet bulb temperature. In other words, the temperature at which your body can no longer keep up with cooling you was something like 98 or 99 degrees. Oh no, it's 87 degrees.
Oh,
so
nice.
Nice. Yeah, I basically get to spend the next 5 months with my body being like, I'm dying. Please stop.
Well, at least you get to sit in a nice air-conditioned, controlled environment when we're on the stream. Which, speaking of, Willow is here. Hi, Willow. She's over on the YouTube side of the house. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. We embrace both devils. And leading me right into my pet topic of the evening is Andrew's comment. Didn't they just pass something concerning daylight savings time? So that leads us right into time changes are fucking dumb. I hate time changes like as a universal event, so I don't even like time zones. Now, I get that we have a very broad and vast republic to cover with clocks. I understand. What I think is stupid is that we have more than two. I can see that you might not want to be like getting up at my equivalent of 3 a.m. if you at my equivalent of 3 a.m. if you live in California, right? But I don't know why we had to have 4 still, and why some people just get to peace out and not do it at all. So I would love to split it into East and West times in the U.S. because that other hour really, like, now that I've moved and lived now for almost a year in a different time zone, I don't really understand the difference other than to confuse my lifelong Apple nerd setting that I knew that I was 2 hours in front of Apple my whole fucking life, including working with or for Apple. I knew back home at the office, they're still there at 5 o'clock my time. It's just the afternoon. It's not obscene to take end of day meetings. So I don't really think the extra hour matters over here in Eastern. It doesn't really do anything for me. And I really don't think that Mountain versus Pacific means shit. But, draw a line down the middle in all those states that no one cares about and hardly anyone lives in, and then split it. But then we also get the bullshit with daylight savings time. And yes, Andrew, you're absolutely right. Today, the Senate passes a bill to make daylight savings time permanent. Now, I don't know if I like that exact situation. And that's what I want to kind of throw out there for some banter today. So the Senate on Tuesday passed a measure to make daylight savings times permanent across the United States. Unfortunately, it has bipartisan support, but Rubio is a sponsor. Like, there's some assholes that we're not fond of. Even fucking Cinema on our side of the fence, she said, "Ooh, I love it."
Right.
So I guess she's finally met something that she can fucking support. Um,
I know she can support tons of stuff. They just, all benefit major corporations. And
right. So here's the thing. Well, and here's the funny part. Like, you even have all these dipshits that sit around in their rocking chair and clutch their pearls. Roy Blunt, Missouri Republican. I think the extra hour at the end of the day is consistently better than having it dark when kids go to school and dark when kids come home, because it's got to be about the kids and darkness. It can't just be about other bullshit. And there's tons of other bullshit. First of all, I'm using up PTO, so I've been taking Monday off like this week, and I'm having it off next week. So I've had these like 3-day weekends, and I didn't take it off because of any specific timing. I didn't look at the timing. But most people don't get to do what I did yesterday and just sit around and dick off while they get used to the new day. Most people had to fuck with it first thing fucking Monday. And that usually includes a bunch of kids getting out the door as well. And so it is a bunch of extra horse shit to put on top of people, but it seems so antiquated, David. It seems so pre-industrial.
It wasn't. And the thing is, so the entire concept was that it was to save on lighting fuel and other things like that during World War I.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like, okay. Anything that the demotivators. You ever seen those posters?
Yeah.
They're the fake motivational posters. So I have one that's my favorite. It's a photo of the running of the bulls. And the caption, and I meant to have it ready for tonight because I knew I'd talk about it, but I forgot. The caption is tradition. And the copy reads, just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean it's not incredibly stupid. And that has been printed and hung onto my bulletin board at every job I've had in my adult life, with the slight one-up that one job I had back before the housing crash, when my career was actually on track to grow like it was supposed to before Bush fucked everything up. We decided to decorate our bathrooms with those at the corporate headquarters. So that one was the one. I got to pick one, and the president got to pick one to go over either urinal. And that was my pick, tradition, because it's my go-to. And this strikes me as one of those things, just like fucking Tennessee legislature having a schedule based around farming. We're not there anymore, kids.
Well, and a good number of the legislators, are they reliant on their farms for income? No, but you and I both know several people who keep hobby farms.
Well, yeah,
out in the middle of nowhere.
These legislative sessions in states like Tennessee, they're scheduled around goddamn harvesting. I mean, any of those motherfuckers aren't doing any of their own work, even if they do have a farm.
No.
So anyway, Olivia points out, not just the kids. I'm a whole ass adult, and I hate leaving for work in the dark and coming home in the dark.
I prefer it.
Andrew points out it's better for kids not to have to change their clocks. Yeah, that harkens back to my topic about times to start school and shit. But so here's the thing. I'm not sure if I want a law that says we freeze in daylight savings time, or a law that freezes us in standard time. And those of you in the comments, please feel free to chime in on your preferences. I think we've got a little bit of the indicator there. But to me, I'm not sure which way to go. And the reasoning is, here, when we first moved here, it was June, and it blew our fucking mind that the sun was still like in the process of setting at 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, I mean that would drive me. And again,
I don't want to commit to that.
Yeah, here's the thing. I say this as a Southerner. The more time I can spend away from God's bright burning fart in the sky, the better. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it hurts us. I mean, look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
Damn, that boy day glow white.
Right? I glow in moonlight, dude. I love Olivia, I get, but I love being able to be like, nope, going to work and the sun's not up, and nope, coming home and the sun has gone down. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to me.
Even farmers bitch about having to change the time. This is the truth. Of course, it
Yeah.
wasn't really based on. I mean, it wasn't based on the farm thing. It was based on the lighting and all that. But it seems like it's very antiquated, though. I don't know. I really feel like I'd rather stay on standard time. Like this morning, it was still kind of dark when my alarm went off. I'm not really in favor of that suddenly happening. I feel like when you just let it gradually happen, it's not as weird. And then here we are, it's still like just the beginning of sunset out my windows, and then yours will be a little bit running behind mine.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Olivia says I'd happily trade 9:30 p.m. sundown in the summer for 4:30 p.m. in the winter. Yeah, good point. I mean, it's weird. I don't know. It's weird as a phenomenon in every logistical and biological way, and then it just seems like a bullshit relic. So I hate to say it, but I might be on board for whatever this shit is that they're cooking up. I kind of just want to pick one, like even if it sucks that during the summer the sun is still up. Oh, and the other problem I have with summer and sunlight too fucking late is outdoor movie events can't ever goddamn start because the sun won't go down for the projector to be on. So I remember being in Nashville in the summer, there'd be outdoor movie stuff and it's like 8:30 and you're like, can we start the show? It'll be last call at the bar by the time we get there after the show. Like, and then here, 9:30 before you can start an outdoor fucking thing. Well, the place we go has a giant LED, so it offsets the light, but still, you can't do that. You can't depend on that. But then again, you can do a lot more with evening activity, and eating outside for dinner is a little more pleasant because the bugs are starting to like lay off. Some of them, if you go too late, they wake back up and the rest of them take over. Anyway,
Again, it's the South. We like summer brings only the plague of arthropods that will now be like
how
much West Nile can you get? This much.
I had some hope that there would be fewer bugs here, but if I remember last summer correctly, we did see the mosquito proven as its runner-up status for the state bird of Michigan. But then again, when you got like a flat state that sits in a whole lot of wetness, there's gonna be mosquitoes.
And you all get like the big mosquitoes. That's the one problem with Tennessee mosquitoes is that they're the little tiny ones, and you cannot see them until it's like your arm is covered in bumps. You look like a pox victim.
Right? Yeah. No, around here when the mosquitoes are coming, it's like that depressive low thump that you think is a helicopter. It's just that whole like,
right?
Anyway, yeah, Andrew points out a lot of things are 24 hours. That's a very, very, very valid point. Like, it's really just a matter of the sun going up and down. The time could just be left the fuck alone. So we'll see. I mean, if the House passes it, I think it'd be funny if the House just flipped it and said, hey, just exchange everything that says daylight for standard. Find, replace.
Just to be assholes about it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nancy wants to, depending on who's pushing it through. She wants
just to like give Schumer a wet willy, just to be like, yeah.
Right. Andrew reminds us all that Tennessee doesn't have mosquitoes; it has mosquitoes. I love it. I love it. So, anyway, that was my bitch, my gripe. It's only time based. It's not on theme. In any other way other than the time of the year.
I want to clarify.
Rob points out certain parts of Alaska it's daylight for 24 hours. Yeah, at certain times of year there's like no sundown. I've always wanted that to be what they did for the next Survivor. Like they keep putting Survivor on TV in like tropical places, and I get it. It's because we want these hot young people to wear the fewest amount of clothes on national television as we can possibly muster. Yeah. However, I still want to see the psychological implications of Survivor Tundra. I think it'd be amazing to see what happens after a week or two of that shit. You have like the little shrub confessional video, like, seriously, the sun hasn't gone down for like 14 days. And I'm starting to think these people look tasty.
No, all right. So they actually have CBS actually makes fun of themselves. They actually have a version on the show Ghosts. Like the ghosts really love so it's a survivor-esque show, like It's Getting Hotter in Here, where like everyone starts out wearing like a ton of clothes so you don't see how hot anyone is.
Uh-huh.
And like as they eliminate players like they keep on turning up the temperature,
That's funny.
and like each week players start removing more clothes.
It's like strip elimination.
Yes. I'm just saying, CBS has already thought of this. They've already gone to where you are.
So they are at least a little bit self-reflective. That's good to know. Well, it's my time is up, and it's your turn, David. You brought an actual thoughtful, topical tie between current events and you know,
Yeah,
good old Ireland.
yeah.
You were talking this up earlier, and I was like, "What? Explain that again." And then you summarized it, and I was like, "Okay, now I get it." So
Yeah.
David has aptly identified a parallel, folks. I'm going to hand it over to him.
So
But
Lucas is about to start hitting the David's history machine button like nonstop. Like he's gonna break the damn thing.
Right. Yeah, tell us a story, Uncle Dave. Let's hop in the time machine.
So for those of you who are maybe somehow not aware, which I guess is possible, basically middle of the 19th century, Ireland experienced a famine, the Great Potato Blight, which is how we have Irish stuff here in America today, right? Because so many Irish had to flee Ireland, and so many Irish died during the famine that Ireland still actually they now believe that at first last year they thought they finally got back up. Then they rejiggered the numbers. No, they still have not recovered the population that they had from 1830 today.
Wow.
Nearly 100 years later. That's how many people died. That's how many people had to flee. And I want to talk about how it happened, because most people don't get it. They're like, oh, well, all the Irish, were just planting potatoes, and then the potatoes got sick and they couldn't eat the potatoes. And then there was famine. Not exactly. See, here's what happened.
That's a very kindergarten book report,
right?
Version.
I mean, and that's how most people think about it. But I mean, it's actually a lot more. It's actually a lot darker than that, because here's what happened. If you were an average Irish farmer, you didn't own the land that you farmed. You may own 50 acres or be farming 50 acres, but you farmed 50 or 45.5 of that. No, or pardon me, 49.5 of that for a landlord. And you kept a little half acre at most. And if you were really well off, you may have had a dairy cow, maybe a calf that you would raise for slaughter, 2 or 3 pigs, and then you had a little plot. And you had to make the most calories out of that small plot as you could, because all the rest of your land belonged exclusively to an English landlord and it was wheat and barley. That was one of the tragedies of the Irish potato famine, is Ireland was exporting massive amounts of food during the famine.
Mm-hmm.
But none of it was going to feed the Irish. So when the reason the potato blight was so bad was because that had the most calories in it that Irish could plant on that little half, maybe even less, maybe even as small as a quarter acre of, I can grow potatoes, enough potatoes to feed my family, because you can live off of 1 potato a day. That wouldn't, it's starvation, but you can survive. If 2 potatoes a day, you can definitely get out there and work the field. And that's what they were doing. That's why potatoes and cabbage are such so synonymous in our minds with Irish cuisine, with Irish cooking, is because they had the most calories and then they could grow on crappy land that otherwise would have been needed for growing wheat and barley. That's one half of the story. The other half of the story is what was going on in England, because those are the people asking the Irish to grow all this wheat and barley. England, even before the loss of the Americas, passed this nifty law. It's called the Corn Laws. You have to understand what the English were doing with their agriculture. England was industrializing very quickly, and they decided what they were going to do is they were going to make as much cloth as they possibly could. Because I mean, if you look at Europe and you look at the amount of land that's available, sheep need a lot of land, and they're furry little lawnmowers, and they need a lot of grass.
Accurate statement,
right? It would make sense that, hey, I've got this place with a ton of agricultural land right across the English Channel there. They should, probably have a lot of sheep, but yet somehow the French never got into the cloth business. And there's a very good reason. The English made sure we will produce enough cloth, enough wool, and all of this to, no matter where, we can go 10% lower than the French. And they drove the French out of business from making cloth. England industrialized and made all this cloth with all these sheep. Well, if you're running sheep on the land, you can't grow food on the land. So they had, but basically by the end of the 18th century, the late 1700s, already turned Ireland into an agricultural colony to feed England. But they needed to control it one step further. They made a law, or a series of laws, called the Corn Laws, which said, again, to screw over the French and anyone else in Europe, you can't import any cereal grains. That means no wheat, no barley, no corn, none of it. It has to come either from a British colony or it has to be grown in Great Britain. Period. End of sentence. If you want to try and import it, it's some ridiculous tariff to try and bring in foreign grains, which means Ireland had to be responsible for feeding the whole of England. So how does this create this parallel? Well, here's this problem that we currently find ourselves in with oil, right? There is no difference for Saudi Arabia, for Venezuela, and most prescient to the current issue, Russia, right? They rely entirely on oil. We rely entirely on them shipping us oil. I mean, that you wonder how Russia built its army. Russia's armed forces are funded entirely by oil revenue.
Period. Well, we don't rely entirely on Russia, but
I mean, we don't rely. We actually, this is one of the stupid things. We don't even import Russian oil. We import Russian gas, and not the natural gas type. The refined petroleum, gasoline, the stuff that you put in your car. Mm-hmm. We import that from Russia. We don't import their oil.
Well, and if you look at the, I mean, I know that talking facts to the crazy Trumpers and Q fucks is completely lost, but the charts that people are passing around about the discrepancy between the price of a barrel and the price at the pump right now are pretty telling that we're in a price gouging, greed-driven scenario where these motherfuckers have looked at the world events and gone, ooh, there's an excuse. Let's do it. And I just filled the car up, the sport sedan with its premium gas over the weekend. And I get it. It sucks. It sucks more when you're paying for the higher price stuff like diesel or premium, but it still sucks for everybody. But trying to blame it, first of all, it's never one president's fault. Even, as much as I want to lay a bunch of shit at the feet of Bush and Trump, There's more factors involved than just their bad choices at any given time. And we've been outspoken on this broadcast that we're not in favor of the lack of a no-fly zone and the nutless approach being taken at the moment, but it has nothing to do with the price of gas in this particular case. This is predatory gouging bullshit.
So I mean, and that parallels with the corn laws, but more important, at least why I compare it to the famine, is this: it's the monoculture, right, and who it impacts. We have a great opportunity, and Europe is leading the way right now. Europe is showing us how to do this. Europe has turned around and said, obviously, we have to diversify our energy sources. Hell, the American auto industry is leading the way. The Super Bowl was filled with nothing but EV ads, right? Electric vehicles.
It was, I think, 6 out of 7 vehicle ads. I mean, it's finally a big deal,
right? But right now, and this is my one problem with some of the EV moments, the electric vehicle moments, which is the price of gas, just like the price of food, impacts the poor most than it impacts the rich. The rich can afford to go and buy a new electric vehicle and be like, look at all the money I saved. If you're working a $15 an hour job, a $17 an hour job, a $20 an hour job, the likelihood that you can go to Ford and buy a new F-150E is precisely zero, right? The likelihood that you can afford to go buy a Tesla is zero. I mean, you may be able to afford a Nissan Leaf if you can find one, but unfortunately, with many of the cheaper EV models, God help you if you have to repair it. Where can you possibly take it? Right now, you have so many of the poor locked into a gas-fed economy.
right?
Our transportation links are entirely linked to a gas-fed economy, and
That's one of the reasons I'm so cynical about the onset of EVs. Be honest with you. I mean, I look at all this stuff and it's really cool, and it's great that assuming that nothing happens, which none of us can be guaranteed. I'm looking forward in 4 or 5 years to still being hopefully comfortably employed and with an income that I could say, fuck it, I'll try this electric thing. But I'm at the struggle bus end of that spectrum, which is sad because that means you got to be really fucking comfortable to make that flippant decision. And
the people who need it most can't access it, which is the stupid part of this equation.
Right.
Which again, it's like the Irish farmer growing 49.5 acres of wheat and not being able to eat a single grain of it. Right?
Yeah, it's an interesting parallel. I hadn't thought about that angle, but it kind of applies. I just, I look around, I don't see gas getting pried out of the clammy hands of a lot of people, and then there are people who couldn't afford to do otherwise. So you're right about that.
Yeah, and I mean, the irony is, of course, a lot of the people who want to hold on to it most dearly are the people who would benefit the most from getting rid of it. But no, I mean, we need to follow Europe's
always the irony,
right? We
voting
need to
against their self-interest.
Yeah.
Well, before we dive into our big topic of the evening and welcome our special guest, it's time to kick off the beer break, sir. Are you ready? Are you at the bottom? I've actually realized
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
7.9%, which I did not know when I was really trying to truck through it at the first half here, so I could get to the featured beer, which is much more relevant to the beer break.
Yeah, right now I've got this little Orpheus that I put as a tide me over. I'm killing it right now as quick as I can.
I found the bottom. I found what could only be described as a sugar loogie in the bottom.
I told you it was
the bottom
Frappuccino.
of that can. So, okay. Pro tips for drinking Fusey.
I want to clarify. This is a sour that I'm currently trying to chug, and yes, it's brutal.
Yeah. I'm gonna wash down the
oh god,
the small biscuit that I just accidentally ate out of the bottom of that can. Wow. Anyway, all right. While David slams the last of that stein, let's get rolling, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the beer break. All right, it's beer break time. And as we kick off the beer break, it's going to be time for a little bit of show and tell and a little bit of taste and tell. So I want to welcome Olivia in. We're going to pull Olivia into the stream. Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
It's the newly minted Mrs. Mason.
Yes.
Oh, and kid. Hi. Last time you saw me, I was the oddball saying bye to you at the end of a wedding. He's like, who is that guy?
I don't remember that.
I've been talking a lot about going to New England and one trip for work and then one trip for your wedding, which we slammed in a whole bunch of touristy things and tried to do a bunch of different sightseeing in the very slim period of time that we were there, and it was really fun. And of course, I tourist by eating and drinking, so that's part of the equation. You have a lot of knowledge about the region, and I'm going to ask you some things. But when I said, "Hey, Olivia, what do I need to do when I come up there for that wedding, that Viking wedding of yours?"
Yeah, those pictures are great.
What else do I need to do? And you said that I definitely needed to try the Heady Topper finally, which is like the claim to fame beer.
It's a thing. I don't do IPAs, but it's a thing.
So I got a whole set of them, and I have not touched them until now. I wanted to make sure that I tried it.
He was insanely excited about having these. I want to let you know in the pre-show
you sent me the
jumping
cheese.
for joy.
At some point, Olivia sent me a care package of goodies, and the cheese was involved. The Heady Topper.
Oh yeah.
Extra, we've been watching your videos.
Good. I'm glad. I don't want you to ever repeat most of the things I say.
Sometimes I do.
At least not in front of, mixed company or at least 30% of the relatives.
Well, that's not good. That's why you're in trouble.
Yeah, don't say any of the things I say at school ever.
No.
I know. I already got in trouble for.
Go play. Go play.
So, Heady Topper is Alchemist's 8% American IPA. So that's the deal, and it's got to be cold. Let me blow this up. Hold on, let me see if this works. There it is. So that's the guy. It's a very minimalistic silver and black, and they do encourage you drink from the can. And we try to keep it as cold as possible. So here goes. Oh, that is like a whole fucking bong in a can. That is very, very good. So yeah, actually, I can see why they're on the map for that. Because when IPA was a brand new phenomenon and being compared, as I tend to drinking your weed, what was that one, David, that you grabbed? The one that was like the 420 or something? You brought it over in the basement before I moved for one of our earlier shows. I forgot what it was, but it literally tasted like liquefied marijuana. It was like a 420 strain or something.
I mean, here's the thing. We don't, up until recently, we haven't really kept like a record of what beers we've been drinking. And there's a side effect of our show, which is at the end of it, I don't fucking remember what the fuck I brought over.
Fair enough. So before I invite you and your beer into the the break, David, I want to talk about this trip. So real quick, a little journey on Uncle Lucas's travel slides.
Yeah, everyone,
So-
get ready. Lucas now has yet another slideshow for you.
Well, because this region, we traveled, we went to Stowe, Vermont.
Feel free to send him a bill for the minutes of your life you're about to lose.
We went to Stowe, Vermont. I had not been to the real New England. I had been in and out of Providence, Rhode Island once. That was the furthest north. So going up for work in New Hampshire and then 3 weeks later to your wedding in Vermont, it was a really great opportunity to see and do. And one of the things that I was so pleased with, because I was not sure, was that the winter had stuck around. And here was the morning outside at the resort or lodge. I don't know what the proper name here is, but the venue and hotel in which you were married. This was the beautiful freaking winter morning view on the grounds. And out the window, right after the wedding, between the old school skis, just look at this shit. Look at this view, people. It's beautiful. And then right down the hill on our way out, we grabbed some brunch. And this was the interior of that place, which couldn't be more on brand for ski lodge country. And all of this surrounds like tons of food industry. And
We love food.
That's
Here.
the thing that I'm interested in asking you, because you work in the food business, and you're going to help me add to it because I know I don't know them all. But Ben and Jerry's was right down the same road that we were basically staying on, and we went to the Ben and Jerry's headquarters. The tours aren't open again yet from COVID, but they're about to be. So that was neat to visit the Ben and Jerry's mothership. And the graveyard, they have a flavor graveyard. When they retire a flavor of ice cream, they put a headstone in a graveyard. It's beautiful. It's hilarious. And then Cabot Creamery. So we went and tried a bunch of cheese. They didn't have a huge cheese spread like I expected, but once they found out that we were trying to pick out stuff and bring it home, the lady just kept coming with trays. Like, try this one. So now there's like a whole shitload of cheese. No, they don't quite talk like that there. I don't know what they... I don't really know.
Silence, leave me my illusions, damn it.
They're just like northern farmer sort of accent. It's not very.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's about right.
Not very Canadian.
We went to.
You're all fucking Swedes. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
We went to Idle Time, which is a brewery and bar, and I was blown away at how busy it was. It was like balls to the wall slammed. I turned around to Jesse and I said, I knew this place was going to be hopping because it's ski season, but I didn't know it would be Nashville crowded up in this motherfucker. But it was Nashville crowded in that motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure your entire state
really
has
good.
like the population of our city. I don't know.
You are correct, sir.
640,000 residents in the state of Vermont.
Yeah, our city has more people than your entire
Nashville
state.
has more residents than the entire state of Vermont. I found that to be fascinating. I did go nerd off for a moment at the door of the Bernie Sanders office in Burlington, though it was closed on a weekend.
That's why you were. That's why you
like
kept on sending me all those texts about like, how do I find out a senator's schedule when he's going to be at his home office?
Yes.
Now I get it.
That's
now
it.
I connect the dots.
Mhm.
You silly, stupid fanboy. I swear.
I was hoping for a Bernie selfie. You can't blame me. So why, Olivia?
Yes, I can.
This is your time to shine and educate all of us. Why is there such a concentration? And I probably missed some. You can tell me what other brands, but why such a food concentration?
Oh my gosh, we have a ton. I could name just manufacturing for minutes, but a lot of it's historical. Vermont was before it was logging, and we chopped down all of our trees, which you never know now. But after that, it became a dairy state with a lot of little independent farms and farmers. So when you have this culture around producing a food product, Vermont got really into perfecting the craft of food products, specifically cheese. Craft beer took off here really, really like through the roof.
Early in the movement.
A bunch of that in Vermont. There's like craft barbecue sauce and craft chocolate and craft marijuana soon. And we've got all kinds of.
Oh yeah, I was looking that up. Isn't it? It's not recreational yet, right?
It's recreational, and we just passed the sale tax, but they're releasing the licensing to the smallest bracket of people first, the smallest amount people can grow.
Okay.
Give the little guys all a shot to get established before you have all these big companies try and come in. And
That's
the thought process is to get these sort of like craft Vermont specialty bud kind of thing going here, like we've done with beer.
And
love
Lucas, you have to think about why does Vermont have all this food stuff? What's immediately south of it?
New York?
Boston and New York.
Well, New York and Massachusetts, yeah, the corner.
Boston and New York are what's immediately south. And I don't know about you, but it's with the exception of Chicago's experiment with Mrs. O'Leary's cow, most cities have tried very hard to keep agriculture out.
That's a good point. Well, Olivia, I have a confession. I never connected the dots that Whistle Pig is a local brand to you, but that's what you're sipping tonight on theme.
Yep.
So what is it? It's Whistle Pig.
They bought a Irish whiskey company earlier, I think last year, Limavady. It's
Nice.
the first time I tried it, it was straight and it was really gross, but I like it on ice quite a lot.
Awesome.
Showing us up.
And I didn't know this, but your husband actually works for the company, which we don't want to do too much. Like, we're not trying to tie things in and promote anything, but I thought that was fascinating. And
that's why I have so much whiskey in the house.
Right.
It's like candy up there.
Hey, Mommy.
I think it would be really interesting to have that direct line. I don't know how that would come out for me, but that's very cool. So you both kind of work in that business, and that's what's neat to me is that you're there, you're working in this food-based, but it's not like, I'm sure there's plenty of boring stuff, but I don't consider any of these boring. Like, Whistle Pig is remarkable. The craft beer scene is remarkable. Cabot is remarkable. Ben and Jerry's is fucking world famous remarkable. Like,
I mean, crackers is one of those things. It's, Westminster oyster crackers. I know they don't travel that far south, but
no.
People in New England are super passionate about these crackers. Like, people move away from New England and send me emails from Florida. Like, I must acquire these crackers. I have to have them.
That's awesome.
So that's been an interesting experience because it's such a loved brand. They've been around since like 1841 or something. Yeah. People are really attached to these damn crackers.
Well, and there's a lot of history. That's one thing that, I love old places and old buildings. And that's one thing I really got a huge kick out of in New England was like all the old stuff. And like when we went up to Burlington, we accidentally got deposited like right in the middle of university campus. That's like, I forgot, 1870 something on the inscription. Like, holy shit. It's just really cool to see places with so much history that's actually active. And then the freaking landscape. It was really, really cool. And probably the transition from the fact that I live in a generally not that hilly state.
I was about to say, you seem really shocked by that landscape. I'm like, dude.
I wasn't shocked. I was pleased. And, and it was interesting to me to see the ski culture. Like, there was a point that
we do not have.
That morning when we tried to leave and go to Burlington, we had to turn right and join the stream of people going up to the ski slopes because there was no turning left. The line went all the way.
I was unprepared for that. I had to run an errand that morning and I was like, holy smokes. I'm glad I gave myself like an hour because I needed it.
Yeah, and coming back, you'd be fucked. But we got lucky at the end of the day. We were coming back and they were all leaving, so it worked out. But we did factor it in. But anyway, it's really interesting, and I really enjoyed it, and I intend to. We're gonna try to have like a cheese tray party here soon at the house and invite some cousins and
that's
friends.
Not even like the start of our cheese either.
I'm sure
there's like Crowley. Jasper Hill does like Wheels of Blue that's really, really good.
Oh my god,
tons of cheese.
And before I stop making over your region and what you do, what remind me and then sort of tell people, because sometimes we actually bring up food stuff and then you'll make a comment and nobody really knows, like, you actually work with this. You actually know what the fuck you're talking about with food safety things or whatever. But like, what is your professional universe?
I am the quality manager for 2 bakeries that are right next to each other. It's Westminster Cracker and a gluten-free cookie company. And my job is to deal with not only making sure people make safe food and follow, like, wear your hair nets, use your metal detector, wash your hands, all that stuff, but also federal regulatory compliance. So if the FDA visits, I deal with them. I report to them when we have issues, all of that stuff. And it's my job to know the law.
There you
Do you have
go.
to enrich?
We do for a couple of products that are eligible for Canada shipment because it's required there.
Yeah.
But
For those of you who don't know, U.S. and Canadian law for some baked goods requires that bread, especially breads, be enriched with additional vitamins, especially iodine. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I know it's riboflavin, thiamine, B12, B6.
Oh, B12. No, it's B12 because well, no, and the reason this is a story for me as a Southerner is that because the South's dependence on Southern farmers' dependence on cash crops, for a long time we had a disease here called pellagra, and pellagra was a result of a lack of riboflavin and B12 in the diet. So every year you'd have a bunch of people go crazy, get a rash, fall over, and die.
It also causes some sort of like neural tube defects in fetuses of pregnant women and stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's if you ever wonder why they have to add that stuff to your food, it's so that you don't get pellagra, go crazy, get a rash, and then fall over and die.
Well, all of this talk reminds me of the post that you put on our page, David, which is for some reason the post you shared had disappeared, but the post is still there from the discussion, and a lot of people engaged with this, interestingly enough. But it was a little tirade on all the things that the dirty liberal commies had done, and there was a lot on food regulation.
Oh yeah, we got a lot. We got a good bit. Just
there was a surprising amount of attention paid to that. Now it's like the original.
We just got a new one that came up for compliance in 2022. I don't remember when it's passed, but the FASTER Act came active this year, and that makes sesame a declarable allergen on packaging now.
Huh. Okay.
We used to have 9 declared allergens. Now we had 8. Now we have 9.
Oh. See, I don't know anything about it because I'm lucky enough to at least not know that I'm allergic to anything. David, what are you drinking, man? It's time. It's time for this ridiculous mouthful of words.
Right.
That is the Calf Killer Sergio's old evil ass devil bullshit ale.
So this is I mean, here's the thing. Like, Tennessee has plenty of breweries, especially in and around Nashville. And I gotta say, Calf Killer is one of those breweries that unfortunately, and I've looked it up on their site. I'm sure there's reasons, but they are hard to find. And this is despite the fact that they're a decent sized brewery. They for some reason where Yazoo started off small and then took off, and Jackalope started small and then took off. Everyone keeps on waiting for Calf Killer to find their train and start heading down the track, and they never quite seem to be able to pull it off, despite the fact that a lot of their stuff is really, really, really good. And I gotta say, this is the strangest Belgian that I've ever had. I got to be honest. So
it's supposed to be. Let me see. I'm over here cheat sheeting it. It's a petite triple with local honey, and I quote, a pile of oats.
Yeah, I mean, and the weird thing about this Belgian is it's only made by agricultural products from here in Middle Tennessee, which is good on Calf Killer. It does not have the level of fermentation I would expect for a Belgian, which I'm not opposed to, but I got to be honest. Without the fermentation, it comes off like an IPA.
That's interesting.
Is
that in a growler or do you have a can?
You can look at the color.
Do you have a growler or a can of that?
I have a growler of that.
Okay.
It comes off like an IPA. It really does. I mean, my taste buds may be a little bit fried from having to slam that Orpheus sour,
Banana.
which was intense. But I mean,
Yes,
it's
banana.
I mean, it looks like it's one of their standard lineup. They've got the Grassroots,
yeah, it
Henry
is.
or Jay Henry.
But I'd never heard of it
Sergio.
until today.
Neither
This
had
is,
I.
I mean, this is the thing that bugs me about Calf Killer is they make so many good beers, and you can't find them anywhere.
And then there's Smoky Treat, which I don't think anybody pours Smoky Treat. I've had it. I had it when I went out there. I visited Calf Killer on one of my random weekends out in the middle of nowhere because it's close to a family favorite state park. So I went a detour over to Sparta. And I tried a few of their beers on site. And it's a really cool little place. And I was trying to look over here on their website to figure out if they had ever done their thing. They were supposed to take over the Waterworks building in downtown Sparta, which hangs over the water. And I don't think it ever happened.
No, it didn't. And
Because it's supposed to happen, and then COVID happened.
I mean, this is what seems to keep on happening.
Damn gorgeous website, by the way.
Every time they should like catch their train out of town, they don't. And,
Yeah.
I mean, there's just every time.
But to be fair, this is a couple of dudes with a farm that decided to fuck around with craft beer, and it got popular, and they made it into a thing that they sell.
They do.
So
I mean, and
that's all they want out of it.
God
then good
knows
for
what
them.
they're, how well they're doing. I'm just saying, like the one thing is, we always, as a Nashvilleian, I always wish I could find Calf Killer in more places.
Right.
And I mean, hell, I work in a bar and trying to find Calf Killer.
Right.
Like their distro guy doesn't even show up to the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, is it good? That's the real question.
I need you to put your
like
guy in his jeans and whatever footwear. Honestly, for some of these distro guys, shirts are optional. It happens. Put him in the car, send him from Sparta, have him pull up to the restaurant, and then be like, "Hey, I've got kegs."
But the real question is,
well, let me
is it
try your
good?
kegs.
Do you like it? That's the question.
This is not a Belgian.
Okay.
I can't call this a Belgian because it simply doesn't have the level of carbonation. The honey honestly makes this a very approachable IPA is what I feel like is where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's got a little bit of that hop note on the front end, and then it finishes very quickly into a honey note. And it's a very approachable IPA is how I feel about it, or a pale ale.
Well,
this is not a Belgian though.
I was looking at the alcohol. It's 6.3. That doesn't seem Belgian-y either.
No, I mean,
but I'm still reeling from having my ass kicked a couple years ago by Belgian.
Yeah, normally with a Belgian, I'm looking
tent.
at least a 6.7, if not a 6.8, 6.9 in that range. And 6.5 seems a little low.
Well,
but
drink up, homie, because we need to be good and lit to talk about this heavy shit. So we've been trying to figure out, like, how do you deal with this Russia thing, because it kind of begs to be the main topic every time we do the show.
Oh yeah,
while it's dominating the world, and that is the same now. But the thing that we're really zeroing in on is the propaganda machine, because I think if you needed an example of how dangerous Trump and Truth Social and all that shit can be, it's Russia. And for some reason, since people, well, I mean, a lot of them didn't learn anything in school, and then a lot of people forget everything they learned in school. But like, you were told in this very disconnected way in a textbook that, Hitler, Nazis, propaganda, etc. happened. But there wasn't really a way to understand it.
There was no explanation of Goebbels.
And then here we are, we're seeing in reality, like, what really happens.
I mean, I just want to give it for instance. I actually, in a First Amendment class, had to explain to people in law school who Joseph Goebbels was.
That makes no sense at all.
right? That's a little frightening, isn't it? I'm like we are in a First Amendment. We are in a class learning about First Amendment, and I'm having to explain to a room full of people
Lawyers.
who the hell Joseph Goebbels was.
Future lawyers.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So right now we live in a world where a good, I mean, I don't know what the percentage is of people that believe it, but a real healthy swath of Russians believe that this is a noble, what do they call it? You can't say war. You're not allowed to say war.
Special military operation.
Operation.
Yeah, special operation, a noble special operation that is toppling the Nazi regime. Like,
Of a Slavic Jew.
yeah. Right. And, you know, as far as the latest news is concerned, I'm a little worried about the 35-hour curfew situation, because I feel like you call a 35-hour curfew when you know your shit's getting blown up a lot. So we're in the middle of that, but the EU sent several prime ministers in by train today. That was neat.
Yep.
I kind of wonder if one of them wasn't at least thinking, like, you know, if I'm there and I could just manage to get attacked, we could consider it an act of war.
Well, no, you can't.
Well, damn. There go
Maybe
my
not. I mean, I'm still hopeful that Putin's dumb enough to try and pop shots at the convoys heading to the Polish border, not heading away from the Polish border, because obviously that's.
I feel like he or his really disorganized shit military are gonna pop some shit off over the border of Poland, even accidentally, and that's gonna be the.
It may be that's what happens. I mean, but here's the thing with Russia is
Wherein Biden finds his balls.
Jesus, Mary, fucking Joseph, if only.
I thought military family presidents were a good thing until this, and now it's like, no, you're gun shy.
No,
you're too gun shy, and you're living in 1965.
I think it's age plus loss with Uncle Joe here, in that, you know, he lost a son who was a soldier, and he is from an age where we were constantly afraid of nuclear apocalypse brought on by World War III. And as I point out, I'm like, if Biden starts, or not Biden, but if Putin starts reaching for his nuclear football, his nuclear launch device, they're going to shoot him. They're not going to let him do that. They're not going to let him kick off World War III. I mean, even if Biden, you have to remember, if there is no situation that could ever be imagined in U.S. politics in which Biden would be the one to launch a preemptive strike, right? And I don't think anyone on the Russian side is that excited about that idea either. I think the problem is that no one's quite to that point yet where they're willing to march in and put a bullet in, or you know, maybe not even put a bullet in not Biden, Trump's head. Not Putin. Same difference. It doesn't matter. Put a bullet in Putin's head, or throw him out of a window onto bullets, as may be the case in Russia.
I love it.
He fell out of a window onto bullets. It happens. But I mean, I don't think anyone's there
all
yet.
the time in Russia. Actually, no. In Russia, you fall out windows and land on poison or something, right? Like,
right, or bullets, or you know, whatever. I mean, I don't think anyone in the military establishment. We definitely now know that everyone in the intelligence establishment in Russia is ready to kill Putin, because he's already arrested the head of the FSB. He's sent teams to go raid the offices of the FSB, because the FSB apparently is full on is right there on board, ready to go. Like, nope, we're done with this shit. We're done. And he did it on purpose. But so now the question is whether the SVR and GRU are of a similar mind. I think they are.
There are cracks and holes in the propaganda wall. One of them rearing its head in this form.
Yeah.
So another journalist did a little bit of video bombing behind a newscast on Russian state TV. So there's a swell, but I don't know if it's enough of a swell.
It's disturbing as shit though, because I see people over here quote translated Russian articles,
Oh yeah.
and I'm just like, oh,
Well, when your guy stood on national television and encouraged the Russians to attack your opponent, you're going to get minions left and right that are not left and right, all right, that are
very right.
No, left and right, as I've proven.
into it.
I mean, I cannot tell you how many tanky, like I have taken the tankies on Facebook to task, man.
Careful, you're going to end up like Rob and me in Facebook jail. By the way, Rob apparently finally pushed the button. He finally managed to push the button. You can't do that.
I didn't say kill him. I didn't say that. I'm not promoting his death. I'm simply making an analysis of the people. I want to make this very clear to the Facebook censors. I'm making an analysis of the political situation around Putin, involving whether or not they would.
But yes, there are plenty of cheerleaders and people quoting like fucker Carlson. You know, I don't know. I don't understand how we all went to sleep and fell through the vortex into the particular strain of parallel dimensions in which a large and audible volume of Americans forgot who the enemy is.
Oh no! It's been there for a while. It's been there for a long time. I had time today to go down a little bit of a wiki hole. About the Atomwaffen division and the Order of the Nine Angles.
Yeah, you went down the hole.
Yeah, I did.
Do tell.
No, I mean these were neo-Nazi organizations that were being founded in the late 1960s, early 1970s, and that were allowed to grow and metastasize again and again and again and again. So no, I mean, like, it's really nothing new. I think that the difference is that two things happened. Number one, and most people would put number one as, well, the internet happened. No, Cupcake. First thing that happened was you had people in mainstream media willing to entertain them for the sake of viewers, for the shock of putting them on, and for the shock of, I mean, this is the natural progression of where Tucker Carlson comes from. I use Ann Coulter as a classic example, right?
Oh my God, that one.
Ann Coulter is
right.
Is an example of.
You want to bring up a name that makes everybody in the room like, ugh.
Yeah, right. Ann Coulter is that classic example of someone who didn't actually care but understood, like, when she saw how many more people wanted to watch the train wreck, she's like, well, I'll just create the train wreck. I'll be the train wreck. And
yeah, she really is.
And I'll be that like gruesome car accident on the side of the road that you can't help but turn and look at.
God, yeah.
And that's what she did. And she proved to be very good at it, right up until a point where even she found a bottom.
Yeah.
With Trump. And Tucker Carlson is the same way. Tucker Carlson is the same species of creature, which is, the only difference is Tucker Carlson has no bottom, right? Tucker Carlson just keeps on going.
Either that or he is the bottom. Hey.
But I mean that's where he is.
So
I mean, because there's a joke, because we used to go to the same church as Tucker Carlson. And
what's that like?
Right? Well, because Mom remembers him much more than I do. Right? Mom remembers the guy in the bow tie all the time.
Okay.
And then she was like, that was Tucker Carlson. But once Tucker Carlson, I think, realized where his bread was buttered, because I mean, if you look at Tucker Carlson on Crossfire, if you look at Tucker Carlson on all these other,
he was tolerable on Crossfire,
right? And he realized that he could be more powerful, get a bigger audience by being the car wreck. And
so
I don't
weird.
know if he's bought into being the car wreck, or like if he's forgotten that he's playing the car wreck.
It's
or
just
if
a
he's bought all the way
natural
into it. I don't know
progression.
anymore.
It's like a natural path.
I can't bear to watch his face now because he just gets those like angry eyebrows.
Oh my
And
god!
he's yelling, and I cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's always little angry.
Yep.
I can't
Well,
do them
so-
well. My eyebrows are too blonde. I can't make my face. All I can do is scrunch up my facial muscles and
I don't hear a lot here, but I also don't really interact with that many people in the general population here, so I don't have a feel for the street level babble. But I'm curious up in the New England area, like, what's the vibe on all this shit up your way?
I mean, we have some bubbas. We have some bubbas.
But you're the Bernie place.
Yeah, and we have like we have like 15% bubbas. They have no real voting power here, but that doesn't stop them from living here and complaining.
Yeah, fair enough. It's kind of like, generally speaking, Grand Rapids is pretty progressive, but there's
I hate you all.
a powerful representation of bubbas, and then there's all the old money. And remember, our old money is DeVos and Van Andel old money. So,
I mean, Vermont GOP on its own is just fucking laughable. They can't manage to put up a candidate for anything that's not just completely crazy. Like they just if you ever look into the guys that they put up for our elections for VTGOP, they're nuts, except our governor, but they hate him anyway, so he doesn't count.
I hate you all. The DNC is not even running a candidate for my congressional district anymore.
what? The newly minted whatever the fuck carving your district.
Yeah, no, because I'm still in District 5.
Oh,
I'm still in Cooper's district. But
you're one of the few that got to keep the number.
Right, I got to keep the number. But the Tennessee DNC is not running a single candidate in any of the split districts.
You know why? They're nutless. They're nutless fucking fools. And they always end up with a front person for the sake of appearances. So now they have Hendril Remus, and he's great on Twitter, but doesn't do shit with it.
I mean, it is incredible. You have you literally any one of these little slices that the GOP has carved off of the city should be able to go and at least fight and potentially dominate their district and take it from the GOP. But instead of fighting, the Tennessee Democratic Party sits there and just
Here, let me take the top 3 recent tweets from, I get to say it now, your Tennessee Democratic Party chair. The longer Governor Bill Lee is responsible for education in our state, the more our children's future is at risk. Yet doing nothing about it.
Yeah.
Every decision that you make will cause a reaction. The decisions that you make need to have purpose. I don't even know what the fuck. Like, he threw a dart at a self-help book.
bullshit.
Inspirational poster.
Bullshit. Listen, I District 5 still, yes, Bellevue is more conservative than a lot of other places in the city, but it sure as hell has a big liberal Jew as its councilman.
Okay, here you go. Third one down the line. Republican-controlled cities and towns across Tennessee have been left poor, underfunded, and forgotten by Republicans who have replaced resources with culture wars. We're going to rescue our neighbors from this madness by what? Not running anyone?
Right? I literally am almost to the point where I want to drive down to the state DNC and be like, you know what? I'm running. Because why the fuck not?
Well, and that's the
Like,
problem.
what? Why not? Literally, you have no one else apparently, and you all are too chicken shit.
That's the problem. They're too chicken shit to run people that can actually try to do anything. If somebody like you or me, and you are the tame version of me in this you or me
Right?
equation, shows up and says, "I'll do
I'm
it."
gonna be there and be
Those
like, yes,
pansy
I want to
asses
run
wouldn't
for
do
Congress
shit.
in the same district as the big liberal Jew who sits on the council.
Right. Oh, hey, Brian's here, and we got his attention with big liberal Jews.
Right?
Not sure what fantasy we're tweaking, but we've
So,
set off.
I'm
some
guessing
kind of
Zelensky,
alarm.
big liberal Jew. Yes, I live in Zelensky's council district right there.
Also, Rob
Slava
says
Ukraini.
your Vermont GOP sounds like the California GOP.
There's even less of them.
Well, obviously. Because if Vermont's population is smaller than the population of the city of Nashville, then the population versus like the city of LA must be just phenomenally low.
5%.
In fact, I've got to see what that is because I don't remember what the numbers were last time. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
Oh wait,
3.9 million in Los Angeles. So a fraction. Uh-oh, David's taking us to 3. David's
I can't
trying
do
to
it. There's
take
too many people. I can't.
David's trying to take an old lady bathroom break. It's about that time. All the beer caught up to him. So there you go. Duck out. So like I got a pretty progressive vibe up there. So I get what you're saying about the pathetic, like not really mounting any kind of anything. But there's also a
think
pretty
it's
balanced, rugged approach, right?
It's worse because they try. The VT GOP tries. Like they do candidates, they launch campaigns, they try, but everyone they put up is fucking batshit crazy.
So they're all the way down the propaganda wing.
Yeah, it's like 15% of the voting population, and they're like all at the bottom.
And they all believe that we're all eating babies and we all pray to Hillary Clinton.
Because I feel like if you're in Vermont and you're centrist or center, you're just Democrat. You just vote with the Democrats anyway. So that's just where these people land up here.
So has it always been like that, or is that just Trump era?
No, it's not. It's before Trump, but way back in Vermont's history, they were super Republican here. I don't know what changed it exactly. It's been longer than I've lived here. It's been probably the last 60, 70 years. They've been really progressive. Something happened, but I don't know what.
So,
but when people give Bernie grief for his like gun policy history and grade with the NRA, that's from being our senator and the mayor of Burlington and all, because he's lining with here, and here guns it's part of like the hunting culture and the farmer culture, and we have a really low crime rate. So,
well, and I've never really felt like I was ready to jump Bernie's shit over his gun policy. David and I argued a little bit about it, but
I mean, I was pissed about it. Here's the thing: Lucas and I differ very much on Bernie Sanders. I see him as an individual with great ideas, but really poor execution. That's why I love. That's why I still remain a Warren fanboy all the way.
He really is.
Because I mean, has a plan.
It sounds like there's a little bit of like what we used to think was crazy as far as the GOP is concerned, because we used to think that the darkest and craziest that it got was Rumsfeld and Cheney. And then we found out it gets worse. And then we have this nostalgic wish that all we had to worry about was Cheney in a dark corner going, waterboard him some more.
And, but I don't know, we have 2 of our 3 congressional seats up for election this year, and I'm kind of interested to see how that goes, because I think all of our Congress people are really well known. We have Sanders, we have Patrick Leahy, and we have Peter Welch.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah, what are you pouring now?
I just want to show, like, this is the amount of head that I'm getting off a quote unquote Belgian.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. See, I just thought I'd point that out as I poured out the last of this.
And let it be known that Tuesday, March 15th, 2022, David complained about too much head. A rare complaint. I
was actually complaining about not enough
Ides
head.
of March. We've got so much going on at the same time with this particular. I forgot to weave the Ides of March into it.
I just want to point out. Oh, that's right. It is the Ides of March. How could we have missed this? Anyway, no, I was actually complaining about there being not enough head for a Belgian. That was my problem.
We have a hello from Charmander, and I can't tell from your picture who you really are, so I apologize in advance if I should know. But hello, thank you for joining us. And the picture's great. It's just small on the screen, so I can't see it. But please don't take that personally. Say hi to me later. Okay, we understand that this propaganda thing is alive and kicking in Russia, but do we think it has a breaking point? I don't think it has a breaking point.
I think right now we are hitting a certain level, right?
Really?
Well, because the thing is, if you're the average Russian and then you wake up tomorrow and Instagram is gone completely, that's an indicator or something. What the hell? You wake up and Facebook is gone completely. You wake up and Twitter is gone completely.
But I wonder what their view of Zuck is, because over here I have my impression, but I wonder what their impression is. I mean,
but it doesn't matter. Like at some point, you got to look around and be like, "Well, shit, something's a bit off here. Yeah. Something doesn't make sense." Like that, my normal pipeline of social media has been cut off. It's got to engender, I would argue, a certain level of curiosity in what's going on, right? Where you have to shut off all of Twitter. What? I mean, imagine being a young Russian being like,
yeah,
that seems excessive.
Okay.
So I mean, I think
okay, yeah.
I think,
hey,
there's a limit.
It's Sharma. Now it all makes sense.
Now I'm done.
Oh boy, flight to Poland. I love it. We should go to Poland, but I'd rather live through the last whatever decades I've got left.
But I mean, I think that's got to be a breaking point for a lot of Russians is when you just ham-fistedly
when you can tell that your nation has been isolated by the rest of the world. You think that might be the
well, and the other thing is, I heard someone from the Atlantic Council, which, if you don't know what that is, the Atlantic Council is a quasi-government think tank maintained by the U.S. and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and I was really shocked because she was going off about, well, I'm not very happy with these sanctions. Well, why? Well, because they're targeting middle-class Russians and not the oligarchs. I'm like, good.
Yeah, good. You gotta create the pain. It sucks.
Good.
It's kind of like my whole I fluctuate between let's just wait it out and let's just level Moscow. I don't want to level Moscow.
I just want I just want the troops to roll across the border and remind the Russians.
You want an attack on St. Petersburg. We've covered this.
Yes. I want to go invade St. Petersburg. I want the Finnish flag fly. Hey, you know what? The continuation war, we finally won it.
I love this comment. This might be my favorite comment in a minute. My cousin from Ireland is driving heavy tanks to the border there. So I think we all kind of know that this is destined to end in Putin losing miserably and embarrassingly. Whether he lives through it,
I'm going to be honest, and this is one thing that has me refraining on that point, pulling back on that point, which is I don't man, there is no good way that Russia wins in this, right? Even if they win, they lose.
Yeah. Because if they win, they become ostracized.
If they win, they become ostracized. If they lose, they become ostracized. I mean, there's no rolling back what they've done at this point.
Let's say Zelensky just says, you know what? Fuck it. We'll become part of your federation. I'll step down. You put one of your stooges in here. I'm going to go to Poland on an extended vacation. Even that still results in a punished, isolated Russia. And 20 years from now, we have another war.
Yeah, 20. Fuck that. Try 5.
5. Fine. 5.
4. 5.
Now, I'm with Brian. I'd rather not fire the first shots, but honestly, I would settle for a good false flag. I'm over it. I'm ready to go.
No. You know what? Sometimes I get annoyed with this whole American philosophy of we didn't shoot first. You should have shot first. If you had shot first, a lot less people would have died. A lot less of your people would have died. A lot less of their people would have died. A lot less people in general would have died.
Fair point.
Calling Putin to the mat and making him say, "Here's the deal, schnookums, cupcake, honey buns. You either try and reach for the button that you think may end the world, or you back the fuck off." I mean, the Putin is relying on Biden not calling his bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I think
this is happening in Ukraine right now is because Putin is relying on the world not calling him on his bullshit.
Oh yeah. It's a bluff ish. I don't know how much of a bluff, but there's some amount of bluff there. I like this. Have the horrors of war or being on the losing side ever stopped another rich white man from doing awful things because they can't target their nihilism into something kind? Yeah, good point. If Russia starts slinging missiles, we'll get off a world-ending salvo in plenty of time. And Brian, I don't know if you were with us when David was breaking down the cynicism about the condition of things with Russia, but as near as I can figure, there's a 50-50 shot at whether or not all their silos are rusted shut at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we got to ask questions. I listened to a really great documentary by an Australian defense industry expert, and he was like, okay, I can kind of understand why Russia's in this spot because of where they've been investing their money, but even then, the investment in conventional forces doesn't add up to what we're seeing on the ground. What we're seeing on the ground is M4 mafia bullshit, which the joke is M4 is the lowest grade of non-commissioned officer in the U.S. Army. And the M4 mafia it's a joke in the U.S. Armed Forces about guys who will go out of their way not to do anything with regards to their job in the U.S. Army. Right. And they're looking at it saying, well, if you've been spending this defense expert was trying to, and he was cracking down the numbers, which is why I was paying attention, because I love a good balance sheet. But I mean, he's cracking down the numbers, and he's saying, well, this might be why Russia's conventional forces are doing so poorly, which is that very little has been spent on them. Russia's been trying to update their nuclear weapons. The problem is, however, up until Trump, all those nuclear weapons had to undergo, or at least a portion of them had to undergo IAEA inspection.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of our agreement with Russia, right? To make sure that we aren't doing anything silly or crafty, and also to make sure that the Russians aren't, selling nukes to terrorists. That was part of the deal that we made at the end of the 90s, was the IAEA gets to, have a peek. The problem is the IAEA hasn't had a peek at a lot of these facilities in a while, and when they last did take a peek, a lot of their shit wasn't actually even on the missiles. Right? So we keep our Minutemen missiles locked and loaded
Right.
at all times. The only thing that we don't do is we don't keep them fueled, because the fuel is liquid oxygen and liquid helium. Super cold, and it's not a good idea to keep a rocket filled with explosive, highly pressurized gas. That's a bad idea. So we don't do that, and neither do the Russians. But in the Russians' case, they'd be like, the warhead isn't even on top of the missile.
Do you think the likelihood exists that Putin has any off ramp at this point? Oh my gosh, there's an enthusiastic husky, and there he goes. It goes.
He had an off ramp.
Hold on, let me be woke. There they go.
Yeah. He had an off ramp last week. I don't know if he has as good an off ramp this week. I think the longer this goes on, the more the Ukrainians know that they have the Russians over a barrel. Because even if Russia does successfully take Kyiv, even if Russia does successfully take Kharkiv, even if Russia pushes all the way to the west and takes Lviv, that is a whole slew of consonants that I did not want to have in my mouth. Even if they do all those things, they're still going to be viewed as losers. Right?
I did not have a scale. I just had to point out the size of this canine. I did not have a scale.
Doggies are so
For
cute.
the sheer volume of your dire wolf.
He's only like 55 pounds.
Now.
One
of the only dogs I would ever entertain because they're just cool.
They're hysterical. They really are.
I'm
like
a cat
poodles.
guy all the way. I like other people's dogs because I don't have to take care
You're
of
right. No, I love my poodles, not the little toy kind, the big poodles.
Standard.
Yeah, because they're smart and fun. Back to potential World War III. Off of poodles. No, I mean, I don't think he has a good off ramp anymore. He had one last week.
Aside from getting shot in the back by one of his
I mean, at this point, I think we're just waiting. Last week, so here's the deal: in between this our show last week and now, Putin has placed the head of the Federal Security Bureau under house arrest. He's raided several foreign, inside Russian embassies, just like we have CIA offices inside U.S. embassies.
He's displaying a shit ton of paranoia about his intelligence apparatus.
Yeah, I mean, he's sent Russian Marines in to raid FSB offices inside Russian embassies.
Yeah.
Because they were genuinely leaking shit and saying, we told Putin not to do this. For fuck's sake, I don't understand what's going on anymore. We're in trouble now, boys and girls. He's increasingly displaying. And this is one of my problems with Biden not confronting him directly. He's displaying signs that he's internally weak, and if we pressed from the outside, and he has to reach for that, basically the sissy bitch switch of I'm going to launch nukes, right? Like because you have to understand from a general perspective. If I was to compare it to anything, it would be like the guy who rage quits and throws the table over, right?
Right.
That's what essentially you're doing at that point.
Yeah.
And because here's the thing, again, as I've pointed out, during the Cold War, we were always the ones who were going to flip the table over, right? Because we had no response to 80 fucking Russian tank divisions heading for West Germany. We just simply didn't have a response to that other than, well, I can nuke a few of them. I mean, that was our response. We simply weren't going to put enough troops on the border to stop 80 Russian tank divisions.
So
Russia
at
doesn't
this
have
point,
80
it's a
tank
game
divisions
of
anymore.
bogging him down until he gets too twitchy, or his own people wrestle him to the ground and pop a cap or inject some shit and end it.
I think right now the FSB, GRU, and SVR are definitely looking at that answer.
So I had not gathered anything about Ukraine stepping back from joining NATO. Is that Sharma pointed that out here? Is that a thing right now? Is I would love for NATO to fast track them in, but I know
mean,
that they have to.
that's I feel like that's been a bargaining chip for Zelensky.
To say, okay, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
what if he said, okay, never mind, then we do away with NATO and replace it with something new? I'd be totally down for that kind of bait and switch. Brian points out he doesn't see how Putin backs down without losing face and all of his big dick energy in Russia. It might behoove us to give him an out. And I think that's how we approached this in the beginning.
we did.
We tried to give him a lot of off-ramps, and the dumb fucker wouldn't take them. And now you have Ukraine saying, hey, Russian soldiers, if you want to surrender, we've got food and warm places
I mean,
to sleep.
honestly,
And gas.
The one thing that I almost wish that we would go and do is just drop leaflets over Ukraine that said, whatever he's paying you, I'll give you double.
Yeah, really. That'd be easier, cheaper.
It would be cheaper. Just be like, fly the plane over Ukraine and just be like, whatever he's paying you, I'll pay you double.
There's a pretty good point here about Russia.
Cheaper than the javelins.
Russian COVID was like, whatever, same shit, different day. And then Putin's still sitting at the other end of fucking tables. And those who wanted to visit had to isolate for a week. World leaders had to isolate. I mean, he's a freakazoid. There you go. Pie. Yesterday was Pie Day. Offer the Russians pie.
Right.
I had pizza. I saw Batman for a second time. Came home and had tiny little pecan pie. It was Pie Day.
I'm making shepherd's pie tomorrow for St. Patrick's Day.
Why tomorrow?
Huh?
Why tomorrow? Why not Thursday? Oh, you're off tomorrow. That's why.
I'm off tomorrow.
You can actually enjoy your food
on Thursday
tomorrow,
itself,
as opposed to Thursday.
I will be wondering why they don't give me a steel baton.
Thursday,
and then I will answer that question with the fact that I would use it.
So we should probably wrap it up because we are hitting our sort of self-prescribed time limit. Olivia, thank you for joining us and talking about food in Vermont, etc.
You're welcome.
Also, thank you for giving me a reason to explore and taste that whole general vicinity. Because damn, it's on the list for a return. But anyway, feel free to hang out backstage if you want. But we're gonna go ahead and move on to the closer. And
bye.
Good to see you too. This is the part where we say bye. There you go. We'll sign off. Do what? Oh, I didn't catch it. Okay. So we're going to sign off and we'll jump back in backstage. David, sir, I wish you all of the best luck working St. Patrick's Day in America, in Nashville, in a bar. Yeah. So anyway, if David can hold himself back from all of that experience, then we can all survive whatever challenges come our way. As always, we appreciate you joining us. Please feel free to like and share. Nobody cares if you do the alerts, because if you're here, you're here. If you're not, you're not. We should be doing something interesting enough for you to be here. And if you're not, then whatever you had was more interesting than us. And this is the most entertaining hobby I've had in a while, and that's all I'm in for.
Right.
And with that, before we wish you well, we will remind you, Putin Kulo. Putin is a dickhead.
Slava Ukraini.
With that, Slava Ukraini, and good night.
Good evening.
Good luck.
Good luck.